Welcome back to another edition of Dave Smith Unleashed. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for all the action right here on Dave Smith Unleashed. You know, I was reading this morning that the WNBA players, once again, as I call them, the entitled, delusional, ungrateful, spoiled brats, the players who make up the Women's National Basketball Association, they're still in a battle with the league, with the WNBA, over the collective bargaining agreement. And by the way, when you say they're in a battle with the WNBA, they're in a battle with the NBA, because it's the NBA owners and sponsors who are blackmailed and extorted into keeping this waste of time of a league alive. You know something? If it weren't for old, rich, white, conservative, white-haired NBA owners, this league would have folded in about 30 minutes. It's extortion and blackmail. These players talk about misogyny and sexism. Are you kidding? You should be grateful. You should be on your knees thanking God for the rich, conservative NBA owners who've kept your league alive since 1997. They're sugar daddies. And you know really what the WNBA players are? They're the side chick. You know, you get an older guy, maybe a gray-haired guy who's a successful businessman, married for years, doesn't have much interest in his wife anymore, and he meets a hot young chick. And she becomes the side chick. He pays for the apartment. He pays for her car. He pays her expenses. He gives her an allowance, maybe $5 or $10 a month, so he doesn't have to work. She just has to be there to service him on call whenever he gets horny. The WNBA is the side chick. That's exactly what they are, because the NBA is bankrolling them. Without the NBA and without the NBA owners, there is no WNBA. They would have folded in 15 minutes back in 1997. And through extortion and blackmail and guilt, they've somehow managed to survive since 1997. And let's go over the numbers here, shall we? The WNBA players are demanding a 400% increase in pay, or we'll walk. That's what Angel Reese said, and some of the other players. We'll walk. Don't test us. We'll walk away. Well, the NBA must be shaking in their boots over that. The WNBA has lost over $1 billion since 1997. That's with a B, and it's probably a lot more than that. And this, again, is through blackmail and extortion of the NBA and the owners and the sponsors. They don't want to be called sexist. They don't want to be called misogynist. So, you know, it's a tax write-off for them, and they can claim, well, we support women's sports, so we're willing to lose all kinds of money every year. But you wonder, how much money are they willing to lose? How much longer will this continue to go on? Even with the Caitlin Clark phenomenon last year, you know, and sellout crowds when she played and better television ratings, the league lost $50 million, and they're going to lose more than that this year, because Caitlin didn't play most of the season. So they're still losing $50 million a year. They've lost over $1 billion since 1997. Oh, don't test us. We'll walk. And they're asking for a 400% pay increase. That's why I say entitled, delusional, ungrateful, spoiled brats. That's what the WNBA players are. All right, you want to get paid what you're worth? Remember, they're all wearing those T-shirts that say, pay us what you owe us before games. Okay, we'll pay you what we owe you. My solution, the Dave Smith solution, if I ran this thing, 20% pay cuts across the board for all the players. 400% increase, screw that. 20% pay cuts across the board. You're lucky to have a job. You've cost me $1 billion since 97. You're losing me $50 million a year. That's what I'm saying if I'm the NBA. These players are not underpaid. They're overpaid. When you're costing a company $50 million a year, there's no such thing as being overpaid. In what other business would they stay alive and continue to operate after almost 30 years when they've lost $1 billion? When they're losing $50 million a year? The lights would have gone out. They would have declared bankruptcy. They would have shuttered the place. Only the WNBA with their sugar daddy, you know, the side chicks in the WNBA, only they can stay in business. And I tell you what, I'd give them 30 days to accept 20% pay cuts. And if they don't take it, that's my one and only offer. Then I cut them off if I'm the NBA. Not another dime. How do you like them apples? How long do you think they stay in business without the NBA's money? And let's just sit back. Let's just sit back and laugh when nobody cares that the NBA isn't going on anymore and nobody misses them. Nobody cares and nobody misses them. Would you? I don't watch the WNBA, and as 99% of sports fans do not watch the WNBA. So who'd miss them? Yeah, go ahead and walk. Good, I'll save $50 million a year. You've cost me $1 billion since '97. Please walk, please. And again, no other business would ever tolerate this. And instead of being grateful for having a job for 30 years, instead of saying thank you to the NBA and the owners for pumping money into this loser of a league, they're making demands. They want 400% pay increases. They're wearing T-shirts that say, pay us what you owe us. All right, I'll pay you what I owe you. Nothing. Nothing. You're costing me $1 billion. What do I owe you? Okay, 20% pay cut across the board. You've got 30 days to say yes. If you don't, we're pulling the plug on the league. We're pulling the plug on the money. How do you like them apples? And again, misogyny and sexism. It's just laughable, isn't it? So let's look at the future. You know, here's something interesting as well. Do you remember Jason White Chocolate Williams? Came out of Florida. I mean, came out of West Virginia. At first went to DuPont High School, and his high school teammate on the basketball team was Randy Moss. Then he went to University of Florida. Really good player. I mean, handles like you've never seen before. And they called him White Chocolate because that was a compliment, because they said he played like a black player. He had an incredible crossover, incredible handles. He wasn't a great player. He couldn't guard anybody. He was a good shooter and a good ball handler, and but you know, he was a little bit above average player, if you ask me. Well, he was interviewed the other day, and he's just turned 50 years old. And they showed some highlights of him playing pickup basketball, and he's still really good. I mean, he's in shape. He's been playing a lot, and he can still handle it. He can still shoot. And he was interviewed, and he said, my 1994 DuPont High School team from West Virginia would beat a WNBA All-Star team. And I said to myself, well, of course they would. That was a great team. You had you and Randy Moss on the same team. But then he made it clear. No, I'm not saying back in 94. I'm saying now that Randy and me and all of us are 50 years old. I play pickup games with these guys. You give us a couple of months to get in shape here, we would easily beat a WNBA All-Star team. It wouldn't even be close. Now, before I would agree, now I do think that Jason Williams and Randy Moss and three stiffs from his high school team would beat a WNBA All-Star team, even at 50 years old. Now, evidently, these guys have been staying in shape. They've been playing together. They play pickup games together. So, yeah, my money's on the 50-year-old DuPont High School alumni team from 1994.
Dave Smith Unleashed, brought to you by MTS Transportations. And mention the Dave Smith Unleashed podcast and get 20% off on your next shipment for all your shipping, trucking, and freight needs. There's only one business to call, and that's MTS Transportations at 800-640-6873. MTS Transportations, 800-640-6873.
And I'll tell you one thing. I'm a former high school basketball coach. And one of the teams I coached back in the day, Canoga Park High School, we went all the way to the city championship game when we played at the sports arena. And one of the players on my team that I coached, that's right, LeVar Ball, the father. I was like an 18 or 19-year-old kid right out of high school. My first job in coaching. One of my players was LeVar Ball. We went to the city championship game at the sports arena and lost. But we had a hell of a team. I tell you what, that Canoga Park High team that I coached would beat whoever won the WA championship this year. I don't know who it is. Would beat them by 25 to 30 points. Easy. Now, let's not talk about the quality. I mean, the really good teams. You know, I live out in Chatsworth, California, and we have a high school there, Sierra Canyon High School, that is always one of the top 5, top 10 teams in the country in high school basketball. But there's all kinds of NBA players that have come out of Sierra Canyon. You know, Marvin Bagley, Scottie Pippen Jr., Kenyon Martin Jr., LeBron's kid went there. It's just, I could probably name 10, 15 kids in the NBA right now who played at Sierra Canyon. Sierra Canyon High School would beat the LA Sparks or the Vegas Aces or WNBA All-Star team. I'd make that line minus 25 or minus 30. It would be an absolute blowout. Any decent high school boys team would beat the best WNBA team in the world. And it wouldn't be close. Now, Jason Williams is correct. Pay us what you owe us. Can you imagine working for an employer and you're losing him $50 million a year? Nobody cares. Nobody's buying your product. Nobody's interested. You've been there since 1997 and you've cost him $1 billion. The nerve to ask him for a 400% raise? I mean, you should be crawling to his office every day and kissing his ass. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for keeping me around that I've lost you all this money. Yeah, but not good enough for the side chicks, huh? Not good enough for them. The entitled, delusional, spoiled brats who make up the WNBA. Now there's a 30-day extension. The CBA was about to expire. So the WNBA is in a battle with the players, the collective bargaining agreement. The players want a 400% raise. The WNBA is saying no. And really, again, let me make this clear. When the WNBA says no, that means the NBA is saying no, and the sponsors. The NBA bankrolls the league, and then they blackmail and extort their sponsors to run commercials on WNBA games. They don't have any choice. Pay us what you owe us? Okay. I owe you nothing. You're losing me money. 20% cut across the board. Pay cuts, slashes. And you've got 30 days to accept, or we pull the plug. And if we pull the plug, baby, there's no more WNBA. No more. Let's see what happens when these ungrateful players walk out and say, pay us what you owe us, and nobody misses them, and nobody cares. That's my solution. I've solved this problem. I've solved the collective bargaining deal between the WNBA and the players in about 5 minutes. It's not too difficult, is it? Okay, thanks for tuning in, and that's it for Dave Smith Unleashed.